Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're venturing into some fascinating territory, maybe surprisingly common, actually.
Yeah, I think, people might have seen these things online, these sort of dark psychology tricks. Often they're kind of overhyped.
Exactly, or just not really effective. So what we've done is sift through the research, and we're going to unpack 30 techniques that actually have some science behind them, potential tools for subtle influence.
That's the plan. We really want to understand how these strategies work, how they tap into our psychology so you can maybe recognize them when you see them.
Right. And it's really important to say up front, influence is tricky business. Using these kinds of techniques, while it can potentially damage relationships, trust, you have to be careful.
Definitely. So our goal here isn't to teach manipulation, right? It's about understanding the mechanics of these interactions.
Precisely. Understanding, not endorsing. Okay, with that said, let's dive in. First up, technique number 1, name drop.
Okay, name drop. So imagine you're in a really crowded place, a party maybe.
Or a busy cafe, yeah. And you need to get someone's attention across the room.
What do you usually do? Wave. Shout, hey.
Maybe you try and catch their eye. But this technique suggests something more direct.
Exactly. Instead of just a general, hey, you use their name. Like, hey, Sarah, over here.
And the psychology behind this is, well, it's powerful, isn't it? Our own name just cuts through the noise.
It really does. You could be totally zoned out, but you hear your name and bam, instant attention. It's almost instinctual.
It feels personal, right? It singles you out. So using it makes the communication feel more direct, smoother, gets you noticed.
Simple, but pretty effective in a noisy setting.
Okay, technique number 2, reflective listening. I feel like this is something we sort of do naturally sometimes.
We do, yeah, but there's a real technique to it. It's basically about showing someone you haven't just heard them, but you've, understood them, feelings and all.
So how does that work in practice? It's not just repeating words back, is it?
No, not verbatim. It's more like paraphrasing or summarizing what they said in your own words. So say someone tells you, ugh, I'm so stressed about this new project, the deadline's crazy.
Okay.
A reflective response might be, okay, so it sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed because the project deadline seems impossible right now.
Ah, I see. So you're checking your understanding, reflecting their feeling back to them.
Exactly. And that does a few key things. It builds trust. They feel genuinely heard.
Right, validated.
Yeah, and it confirms you got it right, prevents misunderstandings. Plus, it shows empathy. You're acknowledging their stress.
Makes the whole chat more effective because you're basically confirming you're on the same wavelength.
Pretty much. Okay, technique number 3, positive reinforcement.
This one feels, well, pretty intuitive. Rewarding good behavior.
Fundamentally, yes. But the key is immediacy. You recognize and praise something good right after it happens.
Like the example in our source, your coworker Alex helps out on a report. You don't wait till the next day, you say immediately.
Hey, Alex, thanks so much for jumping in on that report. That was a huge help. Something like that.
And that immediate feedback is what makes it stick.
Yeah, the closer the praise is to the action, the stronger the connection in their brain. It tells them, hey, that was good, do it again.
Encourages them to repeat it, boosts morale, makes people feel appreciated. Simple stuff, but powerful.
Very. Creates a much more supportive vibe.
All right, number 4, mirroring. This one sounds like it needs a bit of subtlety.
Oh yeah, subtlety is key here. Mirroring is about subconsciously or consciously but subtly copying aspects of the other person's body language.
Like if they lean forward, you lean forward slightly. Or cross their arms, you might do the same later.
Exactly. Or even matching their pace of speech a bit or their hand gestures. But, and this is important, it has to be subtle.
Because outright copying would just be weird.
Totally weird. Off-putting. The goal is to create this subconscious feeling of connection, of rapport, like you're in sync.
So it's nonverbal signaling, hey, we're on the same page.
Basically, yeah. It makes the interaction feel more comfortable, more harmonious, often without the other person even consciously noticing why.
Fascinating how those little cues work. Okay, technique 5, the power of pauses. Strategic silence.
Very strategic, especially in things like negotiations or when you're making a big point.
Yeah.
The idea is after you state your piece or make an offer, you just stop talking.
Just silence. That feels like it could get awkward fast.
It can. And that's kind of where the power is. Most people feel uncomfortable with silence in conversation.
They feel the need to fill it.
Exactly. That pause gives them time to think more deeply about what you just said, and that pressure to fill the silence might lead them to reveal more or maybe even offer a concession.
So you're using that natural discomfort with silence to your advantage, maybe get a bit more information or leverage?
Precisely. It shifts the dynamic, gives you a moment to observe their reaction to. Okay, next up, technique 6, anchoring.
Ah, yes, anchoring. Heard of this one, especially in like salary negotiations or buying a car.
Classic negotiation tactic. It's all about the first number that gets mentioned.
You start really high or maybe really low, depending on the situation.
Right. That first number becomes the anchor. It sets a mental benchmark. Everything else gets compared back to that initial anchor.
So if you're selling something and ask for a sky-high price first,
Even if they know it's high, their counteroffer and the final price might end up being higher than if you'd started lower. People tend not to adjust far enough away from that initial anchor.
you're basically shifting the whole perceived range of what's reasonable.
That's a great way to put it. It influences their perception of value, even subconsciously.
Okay, then technique 7 is kind of related, but different. The door in the face. Catchy name.
It is memorable. This one's almost the opposite of starting small. You begin with a really big request, something you fully expect them to say no to.
Like asking for a huge donation, maybe $100, when you know they'll probably refuse.
Exactly. Then, right after they refuse the big request, you follow up with a much smaller, more reasonable one, like, okay, well, how about just $10?
And the idea is they're more likely to say yes to the smaller one now. Why?
Couple of reasons. First, they might feel a bit guilty for saying no initially. Second, your smaller request looks like a concession, like you're compromising.
So they feel obligated to meet you halfway, kind of? Reciprocity.
That's a big part of it. Well, I couldn't do the big thing, but I can do this smaller thing. It plays on that desire to be cooperative.
Interesting. Okay, so then number 8 is the flip side. Foot in the door.
Right. Here, you start small. You ask for something really minor, something easy to agree to.
Like asking someone to sign a petition first.
Yeah, or like this source example, asking someone to help carry a light book. Something they'll probably say yes to without much thought.
Okay, they agree to the small thing.
Then later, you come back with a larger related request, like asking them to volunteer for an hour or help carry a big, heavy box.
And because they said yes the first time,
They're more likely to say yes again. It's about consistency. They've already established themselves in their own mind as someone who helps with this sort of thing. Agreeing to the bigger request maintains that self-image.
so you build commitment with the small yes first. Got it. Number 9, social proof. This feels like it's everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. We are heavily influenced by what other people are doing or saying. Social proof is basically leveraging that.
Pointing out that lots of other people support your idea or are doing the thing you want someone else to do.
Exactly. Like saying, a lot of people in the department find that starting the meeting 15 minutes earlier really helps.
It makes it seem like the normal, accepted thing to do. Less risky.
Precisely. If everyone else is doing it or thinks it's a good idea, it must be okay, right? It taps into that fundamental human need to belong, to follow the herd. Safety in numbers.
Reduces uncertainty. Okay, number 10, the Benjamin Franklin effect. This one's always seemed really counterintuitive to me.
It does seem backward, doesn't it? The idea is that if you ask someone for a favor, they actually end up liking you more.
Right. You'd think doing someone a favor makes you like them more. But this says asking them to do you a small favor.
Makes them more likely to help you again later.
Why does that work?
It's about cognitive dissonance. When someone does you a favor, their brain needs to justify why they did it. They think, why did I lend this person my book?
I must actually like them.
Exactly. Or at least, they must be the kind of person worth helping. It reduces that internal conflict. So asking for a small favor, like borrowing a pen, can subtly shift their perception of you positively.
Wow. Subtle, but potentially quite effective for building rapport.
It seems so. Okay, number 11, the scarcity principle.
Ah, fear of missing out.
FOMO, limited time offers, only 3 left in stock.
Exactly that. When something is perceived as scarce or limited, its value automatically seems to go up.
Like the ticket example. These are selling out fast, better grab yours now. It creates urgency. It triggers that feeling that you need to act quickly or you'll miss out on something desirable. Powerful motivator.
Definitely works on me sometimes. Okay, number 12, emotional labeling.
This is a really valuable communication skill, especially when things get tense. It's about noticing and naming the emotions you see in the other person.
So if someone seems upset, you would actually say something like, you seem really frustrated right now.
Yes, exactly. Or it sounds like you're feeling disappointed. By articulating their emotion, you show you're paying attention not just to their words, but to their feelings.
And the source says this helps de-escalate things.
It often does. Because it validates their feelings, they feel understood on an emotional level. It shows empathy and can really diffuse tension, paving the way for a calmer chat.
Like saying, I see you, I get it. Okay, 13. The reciprocity norm. We kind of touched on this with door in the face.
Right, this is the broader principle. It's that deep-seated social rule that if someone gives you something, you feel obliged to give something back.
Even small things, like the source mentions giving someone a piece of candy.
Yeah, or a genuine compliment. These small, unsolicited gestures create a subtle psychological debt. The person feels a pull to reciprocate, maybe by being more helpful or agreeable later on.
It's about maintaining that social balance, that fairness. We don't like feeling indebted.
Exactly. It's a fundamental part of how we build and maintain relationships. Now, number 14, the Zygarnik effect. This one's about memory.
Right, this is the idea that we remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. How do you use that?
You use it by intentionally leaving things incomplete or open-ended to keep someone engaged. Create a cliffhanger, basically.
Like the example, I have a brilliant idea for the project, but I'll tell you more tomorrow. Leaves them hanging.
Precisely. It sparks curiosity. Their brain keeps chewing on the unfinished business, wanting closure. It keeps them thinking about it and more interested in what comes next.
Like a mental itch they need to scratch. Okay, number 15. Pacing and leading requires good observation skills.
Definitely. Pacing is the first step.
Yeah.
You subtly match the other person's behavior, their posture, their speaking speed, maybe even their breathing rhythm. You get in sync with them.
Establish that subconscious connection, that rapport.
Exactly. Then comes the leading. Once you've established that connection, you gradually shift your behavior in the direction you want the interaction to go.
So if they're talking slowly, you match that, then slowly speed up if you want more energy.
Yeah. Or maybe shift the topic more gently. Because you've built that initial rapport through pacing, they're more likely to subconsciously follow your lead. It makes the shift feel natural, not forced.
Subtle guidance. Okay, skipping number 16 in our source, we go to 17, the power of because.
Yes, this was almost funny in its simplicity. Just giving any reason for a request makes people more likely to comply.
Even a bad reason, like the classic copy machine study.
Right. Asking, can I cut in line because I have to make copies?
Oh.
Much better than just, can I cut in line, even though everyone was there to make copies.
The word because itself just flips a switch in our brains, signals justification.
It seems to. It makes the request feel less arbitrary, more legitimate, even if the reason is totally obvious or circular. Just having a because helps.
Wild. Okay, 18, the Pygmalion effect, about expectations.
Also known as the Rosenthal effect. It's the idea that our expectations about others can actually influence their performance.
Yeah.
High expectations can lead to better results.
Like telling a team member, I know you'll nail this project, you've got the skills. Setting the bar high, but positively.
Exactly. Expressing that confidence can genuinely boost their self-belief and motivation. They strive to live up to that positive expectation you've set.
A self-fulfilling prophecy, but in a good way. You empower them by believing in them.
That's the idea. 19 is reframing failure. Super important for resilience.
This is about changing how you talk about mistakes, right? Seeing them not as dead ends, but as learning opportunities.
Precisely. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you frame it constructively. Okay, that approach didn't work out, but wow, what a great chance to figure out why and really improve things for next time.
Shifts the focus from blame to growth.
Oh.
Helps people stay motivated, learn from setbacks.
Builds that crucial growth mindset. Okay, number 20, the halo effect.
First impressions mattering a lot. If you like one thing about someone, you tend to assume other things are good too.
That's it. A positive impression in one area, maybe they're well-spoken or sharply dressed, or as the source says, you notice their great eye for detail.
That positive trait creates a sort of halo.
Yeah, and it can unconsciously make you view their other qualities or actions more favorably, even if they're totally unrelated.
Underscores how important making a good initial impression can be. That halo can color everything else.
It really can. 21, time constraints. We touched on urgency with scarcity, but this is more direct.
Just setting clear deadlines.
Yep. Saying things like, I need to know by 5 p.m. today, or this offer is only valid until Friday.
Creates that pressure to decide, to act.
Exactly. Makes the time feel limited, pushes people past procrastination or indecision. Simple, practical.
Makes sense. 22, perspective taking.
Crucial for empathy and collaboration. This is actively asking someone to see things from another viewpoint.
Like saying, okay, let's step back. How would our clients feel if they ran into this problem? What's their experience?
Right. It pushes people beyond their own immediate concerns. It fosters empathy, helps them understand the wider impact, and usually leads to better, more thoughtful solutions.
Getting out of your own head, valuable skill. Okay, 23, the contrast principle.
This plays on how we judge things relatively. We don't evaluate things in isolation, we compare them.
Like the pricing example. Show a $500 item next to a $300 item.
And suddenly the $300 one looks like a pretty good deal, right? Even if $300 is still objectively a lot of money, the contrast makes it seem more reasonable.
It's all about what you put next to it. Clever.
Very. You can make an option look much more attractive just by contrasting it with something less appealing or more expensive.
Okay, 24, the IKEA effect. This is a fun one.
It is. It's the idea that we place a higher value on things that we've put our own effort into creating or building.
Like that bookshelf you spent all Saturday assembling. You love that bookshelf.
Exactly. You feel a sense of accomplishment, of ownership. So you can leverage this by involving people in the process.
Like asking for their help brainstorming ideas for a project.
Yeah. Hey, could you lend your expertise here? Help me flesh out this plan. Getting them involved early gives them that sense of ownership. They've put effort in.
So they become more invested in the outcome, value it more because they helped build it.
That's the psychology behind it.
Yeah.
Effort increases perceived value and commitment.
Okay, 25. The decoy effect. Sounds a bit sneaky.
It can be used that way. It involves introducing a third option, a decoy, specifically to make one of your other options look better.
Like the classic popcorn example. Small for $3, large for $7.
And then they add a medium for $6.50. Suddenly, the large for only 50 cents more seems like a fantastic deal.
Even though you might not have even considered the large before, the medium is the decoy, making the large look appealing by comparison.
Exactly. The decoy isn't really meant to be chosen. It's there to steer you towards the option they want you to pick by manipulating the perceived value comparison.
Clever, but definitely something to watch out for as a consumer. 26. The placebo effect.
We usually think of this in medicine, but it applies more broadly. It's the power of belief. If you believe something will work, it's more likely to.
So in persuasion, you might strongly endorse a method. Like, I've seen this approach work wonders before.
Exactly. Expressing that confidence can boost the other person's belief in its effectiveness. And that positive expectation can actually influence the outcome. Belief shapes reality to an extent.
The power of positive suggestion. Okay, 27. Loss aversion.
This is a big one in behavioral economics. Humans really hate losing things more than they like gaining equivalent things.
The pain of loss is stronger than the pleasure of gain.
Significantly stronger, psychologically. So framing things in terms of potential loss is often more motivating than framing them in terms of potential gain.
Instead of, if we do this, we could gain market share, you'd say.
If we don't do this, we risk losing market share. Highlighting the potential loss taps into that powerful aversion and drives action more effectively.
Fear is a strong motivator. Okay, 28. The power of touch.
This one needs a big asterisk, right?
Huge asterisk. The source mentions that a very light, brief, appropriate touch, like on the forearm or shoulder, can sometimes build rapport and increase compliance. But you have to be incredibly careful. It depends massively on the context, the relationship, cultural norms, the individual's boundaries. Unwanted or inappropriate touch is a huge violation and will absolutely backfire.
So use with extreme caution, if at all. Know your audience, know the situation.
Absolutely paramount. Get it wrong and you've destroyed trust instantly. Okay, 29. The foot and mouth effect. Not the disease. No. This is about making yourself seem more human, more relatable.
Exactly. It involved admitting to a small, insignificant flaw or mistake. Makes you seem less intimidating, more honest.
Like, oops, I actually missed a tiny typo on page 3 of that report, but I caught it and fixed it. Something minor like that.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Shows you're not perfect, you're human. Can build trust and make people feel more comfortable around you, more willing to connect.
Breaks down barriers. Okay, last one, number 30. The endowment effect.
This ties into ownership again. We tend to value things more highly simply because we own them.
My slightly battered old mug is worth way more to me than it is to anyone else.
Exactly. Because it's yours. So in persuasion, you can leverage this by fostering a sense of psychological ownership in others.
Like saying, how would you feel about taking the lead on this initiative? Giving them responsibility.
Right. Assigning ownership, even if it's just leading a small part of a project, makes them value it more. They become more invested, more committed to its success because it feels like theirs.
Increases their personal stake. Makes sense.
So that's our run-through of the 30 techniques outlined in the source material. Quite a range.
Definitely a lot to think about. And just to reiterate what we said at the start, understanding these is one thing, using them is another.
Absolutely. The ethics are really important here. These can be manipulative, they can damage trust if used carelessly or with bad intentions.
Our goal in this deep dive was really just to unpack them, show how they work psychologically so you can be more aware of them, recognize them out in the wild, so to speak.
Exactly. Maybe think about which of these you've seen used, or perhaps even used yourself without realizing it. What are the implications?
Yeah, it's worth considering the dynamics of influence and persuasion in our everyday lives. Something to mull over.